Incredible moment. Millionaire single dad discovered a homeless woman on Christmas Eve. What unfolded next will shock you. Jack Reynolds stepped outside, the crisp winter air biting at his cheeks as snowflakes danced around him like tiny diamonds. He basked in the lavish glow of his suburban mansion, extravagant Christmas lights twinkling off the solid stone facade. It was meant to be a perfect evening, filled with gourmet food and laughter with friends, a testament to the success he had built from nothing. Jack inhaled the familiar scent of pine from the decorated tree within, the joy of the festivities almost irresistible. But as he turned away, ready to retreat into the glow of his privileged life, a flicker of movement caught his eye. He hesitated. In the alleyway nearby, curled against the cold, was Emily. She clutched a tattered journal, its pages bursting with sketches that narrated a story he could only begin to imagine. Instinctively, Jack's heart raced with conflicting emotions. His upbringing, steered by his late father's teachings on empathy and humility, clashed with the reinforced barriers of his successful life. He should just walk away, but then his daughter, Lily, unconscious of the disparity surrounding her, tugged at his sleeve. "Dad, can we talk to her?" The simple question shot through him like a jolt of electricity. Thoughts whirled uncontrollably. What would his friends think? Those affluent acquaintances who saw the less fortunate as mere distractions? Pity flashed across Jack's mind. How easy it would be to ignore Emily's struggles, to swallow the discomfort and revel in the evening's successes. Yet, Lily's innocent insistence broke through the facade he had built around his wealth, igniting a fire in him that screamed for connection. "Can we?" Lily urged again, her eyes wide with compassion that contrasted sharply with his own skepticism. Emily spoke softly now, her voice laced with stories of vibrant colors, shattered dreams, and a life once filled with art. Jack's heart ached. Here was a woman torn apart by circumstances beyond her control, and he felt sick grappling with the shadows of his privilege. As they conversed, the connection deepened. Jack envisioned mentorship, helping her rediscover her artistic passions, and allowing her to share her truth through her art. However, imminent barriers loomed. Jack's inner circle would never comprehend this bond. Would his entire world crumble if he associated with someone deemed less than? With each melting snowflake, anxiety wrapped tighter around him. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. As doubts grew, a scandal broke from his affluent acquaintances, accusing Emily of deceit, their whispers wrapping around Jack like a noose. Anxiety filled his chest. Protecting his reputation felt like an imperative, but the ache within him spoke louder. Should he silence his compassion to maintain the gilded illusion of success, or embrace the messy reality of vulnerability and kindness? As the clock raced towards midnight, Jack stood amidst the swirling snow, wrestling with a heart-wrenching choice that could irrevocably weave their fates together or shatter them apart. The lights from his home twinkled, a beacon illuminating the divide between his two worlds. Emily looked up, her hopeful gaze piercing through his turmoil, forcing him to confront the most agonizing question yet. Would he risk everything for just a flicker of humanity? Jack's breath hitched, hovering in the cold air like the static tension between worlds, a fortress of wealth and a landscape of struggle. The luminous glow of his mansion stood stark against the dark, curling shadows that clung to Emily's frail form. Every second stretched like a taut string, testing not just his resolve, but his soul's foundation. Should he turn back to the warmth of his home, or take a step towards something that felt terrifying yet liberating? "Lily," he said, his voice trembling slightly, "let us help her." The words burst forth, an impulsive rebellion against the scrutiny he felt from his peers. With Lily jumping to reality, her innocent enthusiasm was infectious and grounding. Jack knelt beside Emily, the glitzy world around him fading as he leaned into hers. "What do you need?" he asked, noticing the artist's brush marks on her hands as if they were a language of their own, telling stories of resilience. Emily looked surprised, as if a rare flower had bloomed in the winter chill. I'm okay, she whispered. Jack didn't want to let her retreat behind those walls again. You're not just okay. You have talent. The underlying truth struck him: her art was a beacon of hope fighting through despair, much like him fighting the whispers of his circles, keeping his heart conditioned against acts of pure human kindness. Striving against his privilege felt foreign yet exhilarating. I want to help you, Jack said, his voice softening, cracking the layers of arrogance that usually encased him. Can I show you something? Emily lifted her gaze, uncertainty warping the curve of her lips, but curiosity danced in her eyes. Jack gestured back to his mansion, torn between fear and determination. Let us talk in the warmth of my home. It's a good place to share stories. But as they made their way back, he sensed a looming shadow. The judgment of his friends lay ahead, whispering doubts. Would they see him as a fool or a hero? It was a gamble, but that uncertainty now felt like adrenaline invigorating. Inside, the walls cradled laughter and love, oblivious to the conflict brewing in Jack's heart. Just wait here, he told Emily, motioning to the fireplace's glow, orchestrating confidence through the dismissive laughter of party chatter that drifted through the air. Jack stepped into the kitchen, the clatter of wine glasses and jokes only amplifying the storm inside him. Standing before his affluent friends felt different now, like a performance rather than camaraderie. They're going to hate you for this, Jack reminded himself, skepticism creeping in, tugging at each thought like a devil twisting the narrative he yearned to distance. Returning to Emily, he sluggishly choked on apprehension as the weight of expectations weighed heavily on his shoulders. Meet some friends, he announced, his gaze fixed on the crowd with trepidation. Lily's bright voice interjected excitement. She's an artist, guys. But laughter melted into surprise, before morphing into the mockery he dreaded. Their eyes sparkled with disbelief. How could a millionaire mingle with her? Jack's stomach twisted in knots. She is like us, a person with dreams, he asserted, driven by an urgent need for authenticity and connection that had long simmered under the polished skin of his lifestyle. Maybe she can paint my yacht, one friend joked, the mockery laced with gleeful malice. Jack's heart sank. Unyielding, he realized that this was exactly the moment where he could choose a path toward profound personal growth or retreat to the safety of his insulated world. Jack locked eyes with Emily, whose hopeful smile pierced through the mockery surrounding him. An epiphany emerged. This wasn't just about Emily's artistry, it was about redefining his self-worth beyond glimmering possessions and transient accolades. Jack understood he had a crucial decision to make that could shift everything. The stakes were higher than mere social standing. As laughter echoed in his ears, he hardened his resolve. The moment demanded action, and he was ready to face his truth, standing beside Emily. Could he risk it all? The laughter blurred into white noise as he prepared to respond, contemplating the pushback he would face from his social circle. But just as he mustered the courage to speak up, a familiar voice approached, the one he'd hoped to avoid. The time had come to face his greatest antagonist. What are you doing, Jack? Jack's heart raced, caught between the exultation of his evolving self and the suffocating weight of his past. The voice sliced through the festive laughter, crisp and sharp as glass. It belonged to Brandon, the friend whose loyalty to the status quo stifled Jack's every move, a toxic anchor tethering him to a life he feared he was losing. What am I doing? Jack echoed, his voice unnaturally steady against the storm raging inside him. He turned slowly, the laughter behind him fading into an almost comical silence as if drawn away by the gravity of the moment. Brandon stood there, arms crossed, an eyebrow cocked in that all-too-familiar gesture of disbelief. You shouldn't be seen with her, Brandon sneered, the disdain draping his words like a designer coat. Every syllable dripped with the poison of privilege. What do you think she'll offer you, Jack? A canvas to showcase your good deeds? Jack could feel Emily's tense presence beside him, her vulnerability exacerbated by the scrutiny. He pursued the idea blossoming in his mind, a desperate need to liberate himself from Brandon's influence before it extinguished his fledgling courage. She's an artist with dreams, Brandon, Jack declared, the devotion welling within him igniting each word. What's wrong with trying to understand someone different from us? That's rich coming from someone dressed in designer from head to toe, Brandon shot back, earning murmurs of agreement from other friends who clustered like vultures. You think your charity will fix anything? She asked. Just a temporary distraction for you. As laughter reverberated like thunder, Jack felt an internal quake of reckoning. He realized how tightly his social circle had held him under its thumb. Their acceptance was contingent upon maintaining appearances, on remaining oblivious to suffering. But Emily deserved more than that. She deserved recognition, not ridicule. No, it isn't charity, he replied, forcing calmness into his voice while a fire burned within. It's opening my mind, something you might want to consider instead of belittling the people who dare to create beauty from pain. His words hung in the air, mingling with the heady scent of rich food and wine. Eyes flickered between him and Emily, but the most important gaze, Emily's, remained fixed on him, shimmering with hope. This was no longer merely about being a part of the right social circles. This was a life-changing moment, carving a path for authenticity. The laughter faltered, a slight lull breaking the current of mockery. Jack felt a shift not just among his friends, but within himself. Beneath the layers of self-doubt and privilege, a nascent sense of identity began to emerge, raw and unrefined, but undeniably real. Brandon's expression darkened. You really want to go down this path? He challenged, stepping closer, the walls of their friendship closing in like a noose. Think about your career. Your name could be tarnished by associating with someone like her. A rush of adrenaline fueled Jack's response. I don't want my name to define me anymore. Each word solidified his stance. This is my choice, and I will not let it be dictated by fear of judgment. He took a breath, faced the gallery that surrounded him, friends who oscillated between intrigue and disgust. For the first time, he felt the undeniable pull of personal conviction, something inside him craving liberation from the life others had crafted for him. Jack, Emily's soft whisper broke through the tension. Her worry was palpable, and as he glanced at her, he saw more than just an artist, he saw a kindred spirit. With renewed clarity, he stepped forward, finally confronting the reality of his situation. This isn't about Emily's worth or my image, it's about who I am becoming. His voice rang, unyielding against the tide of mockery. A pregnant silence enveloped him, pregnant with potential. This moment was pivotal, a bridge to self-discovery. But just as he felt a rising tide of possibility, Brandon shot back. And what will you do when the world judges you for it? In that instant, Jack's resolve crystallized. Let them judge, he stated, his voice a steady drumbeat. Because I'm done hiding. I choose authenticity over acceptance. Every heartbeat thudded with the weight of impending challenge. He could feel the eyes of his friends boring into him, but he knew that he was on the verge of a transformation, reshaping the remnants of the life he had so carefully curated. Yet even as he stood resolute, a gnawing uncertainty clawed at his gut. Could he truly shift paths without losing everything? What if facing his past choices unleashed more than just judgment? As he locked eyes with Emily, he was filled with both dread and exhilaration. The repercussions of his choices loomed on the horizon, waiting to enact their toll. And as silence fell around them, he couldn't help but wonder if his breakthrough would lead to everything he hoped for or open the floodgates to unforeseen consequences. The air crackled with tension as Jack's heart raced, the weight of scrutiny lingering like fog. He turned his back on the familiar, a choice that had severed the superficial bonds with his so-called friends. He could almost hear the muffled whispers swirling around him, their judgments aimed toward the unexpected bond he was forging with Emily. For the first time, he felt a simple, fierce sense of clarity as his purpose began to coalesce, simmering with the promise of self-actualization. Jack took a deep breath, catching Emily's gaze. Her eyes sparked something and it sent a thrill through him, a wave of determination that pushed aside the chaos. He realized the decision he'd just made wasn't merely social, it was personal. He didn't just want to support Emily. He needed to learn from her, to immerse himself in her world, the rawness of creativity, passion threaded through adversity. Let us get out of here, he said to her, the words tumbling out before doubt could silence them. As they began to walk away from the judgment-laden atmosphere, he felt the scrutiny slide off his shoulders. Each step away from the noise signaled progress toward freedom. The lively streets provided an unfamiliar backdrop as they left behind the frozen essence of expectation. Jack felt unshackled, curiosity igniting within. They arrived at a local art gallery showcasing up-and-coming artists, each piece pulsating with immense emotional depth. The art hung like vivid reminders of the beauty born from struggle. "Do you come here often?" he asked, a tone of genuine interest lacing his voice. He wanted to understand her world, the struggles, the victories, the endless canvas of life that seemed to unfurl before them. Emily nodded, her breath catching with excitement. "It's where I find inspiration. It's not always easy, you know. Creating while facing the truth of life can be daunting." Her admission hung in the air between them, an echo of the internal turbulence Jack had just begun to process. He had lived a life meticulously crafted to avoid discomfort. Within safe confines, he'd hidden from the struggles that shaped meaningful stories, stories like Emily's. What if we could blend our worlds? He ventured, surprising himself with this emerging thought. The idea of art and philanthropy melding felt instinctive rather than just a notion. Emily's brow furrowed slightly, but a flicker of hope emerged in her eyes. "It doesn't happen often," she murmured, vulnerability creeping into her tone. "But I've always wanted to host workshops for those who feel voiceless. Teaching art as a means for self-expression might help." Jack's heart quickened. Could he, with his resources and influence, offer a lifeline? The notion formed, rippling with potential. He envisioned a space where struggling artists could come and learn, where they could share their challenges and grow an authentic community bridging the gap between art and healing. As Emily spoke about her dreams, Jack felt a metamorphosis brewing within him. He realized his past choices, those dictated by status and fear of judgment, no longer represented him. Instead, he began to define himself through connection, understanding, and compassion. "Then let us do it," he said, the resolve punctuating the air between them. "You lead the way, and I'll help however I can. I want to uncover more of this world, to contribute to what you believe in." The light that danced in Emily's eyes brought his own illicit sense of purpose to life. They spent hours discussing ideas, ambitions intertwining like vines. Each moment was a revelation, exposing parts of Jack he hadn't known existed, a yearning to create, to uplift, to challenge the very fabric of the life he had constructed. Yet, as the sun dipped below the horizon, a nagging thought intruded. Was he now the architect of his downfall? Would Brandon perceive this venture as his ultimate betrayal, retaliating in ways he hadn't anticipated? The prospect of conflict loomed, stark and unforgiving. "We'll need to be prepared for backlash," he admitted, turning pensive. What would this choice mean for his relationship with the others? The question gnawed at him. Emily nodded, understanding the weight of his words. "Embracing this path will require courage, Jack. But pursuing authenticity may be your greatest gift." In that moment, Jack understood the true essence of courage. It wasn't just standing up before friends but embracing the freedom to evolve despite the consequences. And perhaps that was the essence of all art. As possibilities unfurled before him like a canvas yet to be painted, the fullness of his potential emerged. But even as he faced this exhilarating new reality, a haunting doubt whispered, along with passion, what sacrifices would he truly need to make? Little did he know that the momentous journey ahead would stretch the limits of his resolve and challenge him to confront not only his former self but the friends he might lose. Jack woke the next morning with a simmering sense of anticipation. Overcome by a mix of excitement and anxiety, he could hardly focus on his usual routine. The pang of uncertainty lingered in the back of his mind, biting at the edges of his resolve. He was more determined than ever to partner with Emily, yet he couldn't shake the weight of his upcoming confrontation with his friends, especially Brandon. As Jack prepared for the day, he took a deep look at the mirror. Who was he now? The reflection staring back seemed less like the man he once knew, polished and secure in the comfortable realm of societal expectations. The unfamiliar face bore the marks of transformation. Newfound determination glimmered in his eyes. Later, he met Emily at a local cafe, the one where vibrant art adorned every wall, each piece an auditory whisper of creativity begging for dialogue. They sat at a table near a window, sunlight filtering through, illuminating the half-empty cups of coffee and scattered sketches. Jack nervously traced the rim of his mug with a finger, contemplating how to draw out their shared vision. "You know we'll have to get the logistics right," Emily said, her tone making it clear she sought practicality alongside inspiration. "I want it to be impactful. We need to draft a plan." Jack nodded, feeling the burgeoning sense of purpose push through the tentacles of doubt. They spent hours plotting the groundwork for their workshops, exploring potential locations, funding, outreach strategies. With each idea they tossed around, Jack felt his anxiety morph into exhilaration. This wasn't just about supporting Emily, it was about embracing the challenge of creating something meaningful from scratch. "Let us aim high," he suggested. "We could host it in the art district. It's alive with talent and passion, perfect for what we want to achieve." Emily's eyes sparkled. "I love that. But do you think?" Before she could finish, Jack jumped in. "We can handle it. All we need is a little courage to face the obstacles. Remember, we're bringing something crucial to the ones who need it most." She smiled, an earnest warmth spreading across her features, and he realized how much he wanted this to work. It wasn't about recognition or accolades, it was about being part of something bigger than himself. As their conversation deepened, hours poured over them like colors splashed onto a vivid canvas, and Jack felt a new reality taking shape. Yet, the specter of Brandon loomed larger. As evening approached, the sun began to set, casting long shadows that whispered of impending confrontation. Jack could feel the tension knotting his stomach at the thought of facing his friend, someone who used to understand him but increasingly seemed like a chained anchor to a life he no longer wanted. "I'll need to talk to them," he muttered, half to himself, half to Emily. "About what?" she asked, a hint of concern threading through her voice. "About everything, this project, my decisions, them." His fingers drummed nervously on the table. "I can't hold back. This is my life now." Emily nodded, but Jack saw a flicker of unease in her expression. "Just be ready for a reaction," she cautioned softly. "It might not go the way you hope." His breath hitched. The reality weighed heavy on him, and a small part of him longed to retreat back into the safety of his old life. However, that wasn't an option. He felt anchored in this new trajectory, yet the stakes had risen. He was not just risking friendships, he was risking the vision he was beginning to craft. As dusk settled, they shared a quiet moment, an unspoken tension binding them. Jack kept returning to the idea of authenticity that Emily had spoken about. How far was he willing to go to embrace it fully? "Jack," she said, breaking the silence. "Whatever happens, I believe in you." Those words resonated fiercely within him, igniting his resolve. But as he left the cafe, heart pounding with a thunderous mix of hope and dread, he couldn't shake the query from his mind. What awaited him in the crossroads between loyalty and personal honesty? Determined but uncertain, Jack steeled himself for the weight of the conversation that loomed on the horizon. The moment of reckoning was about to begin, and he would need every ounce of courage he'd gathered to face it. The next morning dawned with a silence that felt heavy on Jack's chest. He had spent sleepless hours turning over his thoughts, preparing for the encounter with his friends, particularly Brandon. The confrontation wasn't just a casual chat, it was a pivotal moment that would define his trajectory. As he stood in front of the mirror, he felt the weight of his decisions pressing down upon him, each choice echoing loudly in his mind. He made his way to the park, where he had agreed to meet Brandon and the others. The air was crisp, refreshing yet biting, serving as a stark contrast to the turmoil brewing within him. Jack's heartbeat quickened as he approached the familiar bench where they often gathered, the place that had once felt like a sanctuary but now loomed like a stage for a performance he was uncertain about. The sight of Brandon, flanked by their friends, hit him with a wave of nostalgia mixed with anxiety. Brandon sensed Jack's arrival before he spoke, his expression unreadable, a mix of curiosity and disquiet. Jack took a deep breath, reminding himself of Emily's faith in him, her encouragement threading through his thoughts like a lifeline. "Hey, Jack!" Brandon called out, his tone deceptively casual. Jack could see the flicker of anticipation in his friend's eyes, and he felt the need to disrupt the growing tension. "Hey!" Jack replied, forcing a smile as he took a seat across from them. There was a palpable silence as the group shifted their weight, the dynamic visibly strained. Brandon, sensing the distance, broke the tension with a question. "So, what has been going on? You've been a bit off lately." His words pierced through the effort Jack was making to appear calm. It was the moment, the push he needed. Yet, doubt crept in, whispering to back away, to maintain the comfort of old friendships, to dismiss his new aspirations. Jack inhaled deeply. No. He couldn't retreat further. Not now. "I've been working on a project," Jack said, his voice steady but his insides roiling. "With Emily." He paused, gauging their reactions, quickly continuing, "It's something we're really passionate about." Passionate? What, like a hobby? Brandon scoffed, eyebrows raised in skepticism. Why not just settle for a regular job? The words stung, but they solidified Jack's resolve. "Because it feels like it matters," he replied, surprising himself with the strength in his voice. "This isn't just a job to me, it's about creating something worthwhile, something that resonates with people." His friends exchanged glances, apprehension mixed with confusion. Jack could see Brandon's face harden, his tone shifting from teasing to defensive. "You mean to say that this whatever it is matters more than what we've done together?" Jack felt a flicker of anger rise. Was he being accused of betrayal for seeking something greater? "No, it doesn't discount what we've shared. It's just different now, and I'm learning to be okay with that." Silence enveloped them, a thick fog of discomfort. Jack's heart raced, a chaotic rhythm pushing him to declare his intentions fully. "I can't keep living for others' expectations, Brandon. I want to chase what feels right to me." A tense moment hung suspended in the air, charged with Jack's decision to stand in his truth. He noticed the growing heaviness in Brandon's features, the hesitance of unquestioned loyalty beginning to shift. "Do you really think you can do this? I mean, succeed?" At that moment, something within Jack shifted. "I think I can," he asserted, voice firming as anticipation pulsed through him. "And I need your support, or at least your understanding, even if you don't agree." Brandon seemed taken aback, and Jack braced himself for the rebuttal, but the silence stretched on longer than expected. He remembered Emily's words again, the raw power of self-acceptance. What he hadn't expected was the fear flooding him, mingling with determination. "Just think about it, okay? Where I'm heading isn't about leaving you behind, it's about finding my way." Jack felt the finality hang in the air, a breathless tension of uncertainty, as he awaited the reactions he knew were coming. The crowd around them murmured, the uncertainty palpable. Jack's heart demanded attention. Would they extend their acceptance, extend their friendship into this new space he was carving out for himself? But his thoughts spiraled. What if Brandon couldn't accept the changes? What if this newfound path tore apart the very fabric of their history? As he looked around, expectation hanging like mist around him, the weight of their collective silence became deafening. He needed to know. Would they stand by his side, or was this the moment everything changed? The resolution loomed in Jack's mind. He had kicked down the doors of his past, but the path ahead remained shrouded in the fog of uncertainty. What lay beyond this breakthrough moment? The answer awaited, elusive and terrifying, in the conversations yet to unfold. Time passed slowly in the park, each second stretching out like an unspooled tape, forcing Jack to confront the reality of his choices. The laughter of passing children contrasted sharply with the heavy silence that now anchored him to the bench. Brandon's expression was inscrutable, but Jack could feel the simmering tension ready to erupt. "I mean, it's great and all to chase dreams and whatnot," Brandon finally said, breaking the oppressive quiet. "But what if you fail? What are you even talking about? Is it really worth jeopardizing everything?" Those words struck Jack like a slap. A wave of frustration welled up inside him, competing with the fear that had already taken residence in his mind. He opened his mouth to respond, to explain the hours he poured into their project with Emily, all the late nights filled with planning and dreaming, but the words stuck. What if he truly failed? He recounted the moments spent late at night, brainstorming ideas that ignited his passion and challenged him to think differently. Yet, Brandon's voice echoed back at him, compelling doubt to creep through his resolve. "I can't go back to just settling," Jack asserted, his voice trembling slightly with emotion. "I want to invest in something I believe in. Maybe I'll stumble, but I'll learn." "It's about growth, Brandon. You think you're the only one who has to grow?" Brandon shot back, arms crossed. "We've all got responsibilities, Jack. You've got to be realistic." Jack felt a flush of anger combined with an overwhelming urge to defend his choices. "This is my path, Brandon. I can't forsake what I care about just to fit into some mold. I need to grow into my own person." Their friends exchanged glances, unsure of which way to tilt. Jack could sense their hesitation, the query in their shared expressions. Who is Jack becoming? Jack's heart raced. "You think I've never wrestled with the thought of failing?" "I think about it every day," he confessed, his voice a whisper now. He continued, "But what scares me more is the thought of being stuck in a life that doesn't reflect who I am or what I want. Not pursuing this is the real failure." For a heartbeat, silence enveloped them once again, all eyes trained on Jack like he was an open book. The atmosphere shifted subtly. He was not just asserting his choices, but also laying bare the fear that thrummed in his veins. It was as if he had pulled away the facade of certainty, exposing the vulnerability that lay beneath. "Do you really think we can't get through tough times together?" Brandon finally softened, though uncertainty still lingered in his tone. "You don't have to choose one or the other. I thought we were building a life together." The urge to backtrack, to appease, clawed at Jack. Yet something stirred fiercely within him, a determination that had been long suppressed. Building a life together. Sure. But is it really a life if I'm contorting myself to fit into a box that doesn't reflect who I am? Jack's voice solidified with growing confidence. He felt stronger, bolder than in moments past. "This isn't about rejecting our past but embracing what is possible for the future. But I need you to understand that my future may look different than what we all envisioned." The group remained quiet, processing Jack's revised Declaration of Independence. It dawned on him that he wasn't just advocating for himself, he was pushing for change in a tighter-knit circle of relationships. There was discomfort, but also a flicker of understanding. He took a deep breath, grounding himself further. "So, I'm asking you all, if you can't support me, can you at least allow me the space to try?" Brandon continued to look uncertain, but Jack could see the wheels turning in his friend's mind. The air felt rich with expectation and unspoken questions. As they stared silently into each other's eyes, the stakes heightened for Jack. He awaited their response, heart pounding with anticipation and fear. The moment felt monumental, a defining crossroad that could lead to camaraderie or division. What could he stand to gain or lose in this exchange? Just then, a figure in the distance caught his eye, breaking the tension. An old man was shuffling closer, his shoulders hunched and his eyes low. Jack felt an inexplicable tug in his gut. He looked back at Brandon, who seemed deep in thought, then back at the approaching man. What unexpected lesson lay ahead now? Would this visit bring clarity, or would it complicate the already fraught confrontation? The moment was charged, uncertain, and Jack felt it in his bones. What truth would emerge from this chaotic convergence of paths? As the old man shuffled closer, his frail frame swaying with the effort, Jack's heart raced. Brandon's eyebrows knitted together in confusion, while the rest of their group exchanged curious glances. The tension from their earlier conversation flickered like a candle flame caught in a gust of wind, teetering between confrontation and understanding. The old man paused a few feet away, his breath visible in the crisp air. "Excuse me," he rasped, his voice barely a whisper, "but I couldn't help but overhear your discussion." The group instinctively leaned in, curiosity piqued amid the charged atmosphere. Jack blinked, momentarily taken aback. The weight of their preceding argument hung heavy in the air. The old man's presence immediately injected an air of seriousness, like an unexpected director stepping onto a chaotic set. Jack encouraged himself to be open to whatever wisdom was about to emerge, desperate for clarity in a moment filled with uncertainty. I've spent many years chasing my own dreams, the old man began, looking directly at Jack. His eyes, though clouded, displayed a flicker of intense understanding. And I've come to learn that true fulfillment is built not merely on success, but on the connections we nurture with those we care about. Brandon's brow unfurrowed slightly as he absorbed the man's words, the expression on his face shifting from skepticism to intrigue. I've seen too many go after more money, more recognition only to realize they lost sight of what truly matters. You can certainly pursue your dreams, son, but don't overlook the importance of those standing by you. They may just be your greatest support in times of trial. Jack heard the voice of self-doubt whisper in the back of his mind. What if he was indeed sacrificing his relationships for an abstract ambition? Yet another stronger voice shouted in protest. This was not just about maintaining bonds, it was about personal growth that might lead to even more profound connections down the line. Are you saying I should set aside my aspirations for the sake of comfort? Jack challenged, struggling to find the balance between his ambitions and his friendships. No, the old man hurried to clarify, his hands trembling slightly as he gestured toward the park. What I'm saying is don't burn the bridges to get to where you think you need to go. Life has a way of bringing back the people you think you can leave behind. Jack inhaled sharply, the man's words digging into him like the cold winter air. He was right. Plenty of moments in his life were marked by the sacrifices he made in relationships, all in the name of ambition. Was he really willing to let go of the camaraderie they had, even if it evolved into something different? Brandon broke the silence, his expression vulnerable. I don't think anyone's asking you to abandon your goals, Jack. But maybe the way you're going about it needs reevaluation. We can grow together too. The old man nodded, as if he had known this revelation would come. True strength lies not in pursuing individual glory, but in lifting each other along the journey. You ask for space? Why not invite them into your dream instead? Jack felt the invitation woven into the old man's suggestion race through him, igniting a thirst for collaboration innate in professional environments and personal relationships alike. It transformed something that felt divisive into an opportunity and opening that could strengthen the bonds he found himself reevaluating. Can we really navigate this together then? Jack asked, the tremors in his voice replaced by burgeoning determination. Only if you let us in, Brandon replied solemnly, a spark of resolve illuminating his gaze. Jack glanced between his friends, the realization dawning on him that he didn't have to do this alone. But he would need to foster an environment where everyone felt invested, not just himself. Yet a nagging worry lingered in his gut. How could he mesh his ambitions with theirs without suffocating the originality he craved? The old man reached out, resting a weathered hand on Jack's shoulder. You'll figure it out, son. The path is seldom clear at first, but trusting yourself and those who care about you will lead to the answers. As Jack processed this revelation, he felt lighter, yet an undercurrent of tension remained. There was still so much to navigate within himself and with his friends. Just as he felt ready to begin that dialogue, the old man turned to leave, his faded form disappearing into the haze of the park. Jack instinctively sought clarity in that moment, realizing he had exchanged his previous anxiety for a new form of uncertainty, one that bristled with possibility. Is it possible, he thought, to redefine success with others, or would that require shaping a path he hadn't yet envisioned? What awaited him in this newfound collaboration? Would he truly find the balance he craved, and what surprises lay ahead as he ventured into these uncharted waters? As the old man melted into the distance, Jack's mind raced with the implications of their conversation. A knot formed in his stomach, weighing him down with an unsettling combination of eager anticipation and fear. He glanced back at Brandon and the others, their expressions variegated with curiosity and concern. Their support suddenly felt like both a shield and a burden, a reminder of the challenge ahead. Jack's breath hitched as he turned his focus inward. The possibility of embracing a path that combined his personal ambitions with his relationship sparked a fire that begged for attention. Could he create an environment where his friends could contribute as much as he envisioned? His previous mindset, one that had been so rigidly individualistic, suddenly felt archaic, yet it still held power over him like an old friend refusing to let go. Okay, I have to bring them into the fold, Jack murmured to himself, attempting to quell the rising anxiety that accompanied the prospect. The concept of collaboration appealed to him profoundly, but, deep down, he feared that opening up might wash away the essence of his vision. Did he possess the diplomatic finesse needed to balance individual dreams with group dynamics? He took a step closer to Brandon, who was still watching him with an intensity that ignited Jack's resolve. "Can we talk?" he asked, urgency lacing his tone. "Absolutely," Brandon replied, his demeanor shifting into something more serious as well. "What's on your mind?" Jack felt a rush of vulnerability, yet it was liberating to acknowledge it. "I need to understand how to merge our ideas, our goals. I've been so focused on what I want that I've become blind to everything else." The old man he made me realize I can't navigate this alone. Brandon nodded, a thoughtful expression settling on his features. "I appreciate you saying that, man. The truth is, we all want to support you, but we also have our aspirations. If we don't communicate, it's easy to feel sidelined, like we're not as important to the journey." Jack nodded, the admission resonating deeply. The old man's words echoed in his mind. "Don't burn bridges." "You're right. Let us redefine this. Each voice matters, and I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts." He felt a rush of confidence bloom within him as he embraced the possibility of teamwork. They gathered the group, a tangible energy swirling among them as excitement sparked in shared possibility. Jack felt both nerves and anticipation dance through him as he prepared to discuss ideas. The fear of rejection flickered but was met with a stronger desire for connection. "Listen, all of you," Jack began, adrenaline coursing through his veins. "I'm taking a step back to let us all shape this vision together. I want to hear your aspirations and dreams, and how we can align them with what I'm pursuing. I think we can make something incredible if we work together." Brandon's voice joined in, emboldening the moment further. "This isn't just a solo mission, it's a team effort, and that starts now. Let us be honest with each other about our ambitions. I believe each of us brings unique elements, a blend that could turn our ideas into something unexpected and extraordinary." They entered a spirited discussion, ideas bouncing around, revealing layers of potential Jack hadn't anticipated. As he listened, Jack began to see the strengths in others' visions and the complementary nature of their aspirations. Ideas morphed and expanded until the collaboration began feeling more like an adventure than a negotiation, a shared odyssey. As the desires and hopes of each friend interwove with his initial vision, Jack felt a sense of excitement build in his chest. Yet, he couldn't brush off the nagging question: would any cracks emerge when they navigated the execution? After all, ambition often invited conflict. The clarity of purpose surged within him, but he also felt steps into the unknown advance. Who would step back when the moment came, and would their individual aspirations mold together harmoniously when put into action? The worries of clashing personalities lurked in the periphery, threatening the fragile balance they were attempting to create. Determined to face whatever could emerge, Jack grinned at his friends. "Let us make this happen." But as those final words resonated, shadows of doubt loomed. A larger confrontation awaited them just beyond the horizon of their newfound commitment. Would they be ready to meet each other's needs as they ventured forward? The thought unsettled him. How far could they really go when dreams and ambitions collided in such complex ways? In the following weeks, the atmosphere shifted dramatically for Jack and his friends. What once felt like a precarious crossroads transformed into an energized collaboration, with each member contributing their skills toward the workshops that Jack and Emily had envisioned. The initial trepidation of merging ambitions evolved into a shared excitement, a testament that strength can emerge from vulnerability. With Emily at the creative helm, Jack found himself reinvigorated by her insights and innovative approach to art. They hosted brainstorming sessions every Sunday morning, where ideas flowed as freely as the coffee. He reveled in pushing boundaries, exploring ways to empower local artists who felt overlooked, and ignited fresh dreams within his circle. The dynamic of his friendships also morphed. No longer merely a figure of wealth and privilege around whom they congregated, Jack became a facilitator, supporting others while discovering new facets of his own character. Grounded in authenticity, he tapped into the immense satisfaction of realizing that success could be redefined. Repeatedly, he learned, the essence of collaboration lies in valuing every voice, rather than clinging tightly to one's singular vision. However, the inevitable challenge mirrored like reflections in a mirror. Jack couldn't escape it completely. As the launch day approached, tension built within the group. Personal aspirations collided, and conflicting ideas began to surface. One friend's desire to include commercial elements clashed with Emily's vision of raw art for self-expression. Jack observed the strain on camaraderie as discussions devolved into disagreements. Why waste energy on criticism? The artist urged, exasperated, her eyes flashing intensity. What we need is authentic dialogue. Ours is about community. Jack interjected, an edge of caution in his voice. Let us bring it back to our focus. We aimed for empowerment, not commercialism. We need to navigate these conflicts before they thwart our mission. As weeks passed into a whirlwind, those moments crystallized into pivotal lessons. Jack learned that uncomfortable conversations were gateways to deeper exploration of each person's intent. Through his leadership, he encouraged every member to lay their cards on the table, angst and all, without fear of rejection. This dialogue opened avenues to reshape differing visions and bring them together cohesively. The day arrived, and the launch unfolded under a canvas of changing colors, a vivid sunset painting the sky with promise. Jack stood at the forefront of the venue, watching as local artists flowed in, and the ambience resonated with laughter and creativity. The anticipation was palpable, everyone was viewing their collective vision come to life. As Jack stepped forward to deliver the opening remarks, he could see familiar faces, friends, supporters, and the very artists they had hoped to uplift. In that moment, a wave of gratitude surged within him. We stand not just as creators but as a community. Each story interlaces with the next, and we've crafted this together, drawing strength from each other's perspectives. We've seen both growth and discord, but today marks a celebration of our transformed identities. Once he spoke those words, an undeniable warmth enveloped the room, resonating with the spirit of shared triumph. It was more than just a successful launch, it was a navigation through personal evolution, an embracing of uncertainty, and the fostering of an enriching environment. As the celebration continued, Jack felt an overwhelming sense of fulfillment. He had not only rekindled his passion but found genuine connection through the shared dreams of those around him, a powerful alignment he had failed to acknowledge before. In the weeks that followed, the workshops thrived. Jack bore witness to artists blossoming under mentorship, finding their voice in every brushstroke, and the stories hidden within their canvases began bursting forth, reflecting resilience. He reveled in their successes, no longer measuring worth by societal standards. Instead, he assessed the impact they were achieving together. The reflections of his journey became clearer with every achievement. He recognized his confidence burgeoning, the respect his friends now showed him, not solely as the millionaire who saved someone, but as an equal collaborator. The shift in their dynamics showcased profound growth. Jack was now seen as a pivotal part of a collective effort, a tribute to the idea that dreams flourish in shared spaces. Jack's transformation was palpable. He had conquered the shackles of superficiality and replaced them with authentic connections aimed at upliftment rather than separation. Time and again, the critical components of his success, compassion, vulnerability, and community, echoed through him, forging a shield around his new aspirations. The final realization washed over him one night, as he gazed into a canvas displaying collaborative masterpieces. He had unlocked the door to becoming the person he genuinely aspired to be. The realization of self-worth, no longer aligned purely with wealth, defined his newfound identity. Jack Reynolds emerged as more than a successful businessman. He had become a beacon for others, embodying the strength that came from collaboration and the relentless pursuit of authenticity. He had proven that true success is born not just from personal ambition but through the bonds formed in shared journeys of resilience. And with that revelation, he stepped into the future armed with confidence, not just as a millionaire but as a transformative force in his own right, a man anchored in the true dimensions of success. Now is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to not miss exclusive, emotional stories like this. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, it truly makes a difference. Comment your reactions and theories about this transformative journey. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiring conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to spread the message of personal overcoming.